There's a level of discipline that makes people look at you with fear. Not admiration, fear. Because when someone operates at that level, it forces everyone around them to confront how little they're actually doing. It's unsettling. It's almost confrontational. Their mere existence becomes a quiet mirror held up to everyone else's excuses, half-starts, and "I'll get to it tomorrow" promises. Today, you're going to discover exactly how to reach that terrifying consistency, the kind that doesn't just impress people, it quietly unnerves them. Have you ever watched someone who never fails? Really watch them? They rise at the exact same time every single day, no matter if it's pouring rain, if they barely slept, if the world feels heavy. They show up when motivation has long evaporated, when every cell in their body is begging for 5 more minutes, when life is throwing legitimate obstacles at them. While the rest of the world gives up somewhere around week 3, New Year's resolutions abandoned, gym memberships collecting dust, journals left blank, they keep going, month after month, year after year. And slowly, the whispers begin. First from friends, then from colleagues, eventually even from strangers who notice. That's not normal. That's obsessive. How does he even do that every single day? Those words aren't compliments. They're a mix of awe, envy, and a little discomfort. Because deep down, seeing unbreakable consistency reminds people how breakable their own commitments really are. There's an ancient system forged in the mountains of 13th century Japan by Zen master Dōgen that creates precisely this level of frightening, almost superhuman consistency. He called it Gyoji, ceaseless, gapless practice. The practice that perpetuates itself, rolling forward under its own momentum, like the turning of the great wheel of the Dharma that never pauses, never reverses. In his monumental work, the Shobogenzo, Dōgen wrote these striking words. On the great road of Buddhas and ancestors, there is always unsurpassable practice, continuous and sustained. It forms the circle of the way and is never cut off. Between aspiration, practice, enlightenment, and nirvana, there is not a moment's gap. That single sentence captures everything. No breaks, no exceptions, no negotiations. Not because the practitioner is forcing it through brute willpower forever, but because the practice has become so thoroughly woven into their being that stopping would feel more unnatural than continuing. Once you truly grasp how Gyoji works, not as a set of harsh rules or motivational hacks, but as a profound, identity-level reshaping of who you are, you will never break another meaningful goal again. The old cycle of starting strong and fading away simply ends. But understand this clearly right now. This path is not gentle. It is not kind to the ego. It demands that you deliberately kill off the part of yourself that is addicted to comfort, addicted to endless internal debate, addicted to the sweet relief of maybe tomorrow. You have to let that version of you die so a new, unbreakable version can be born. If you're ready to face that death and rebirth, if you're not just casually curious, but genuinely committed to changing, then hit subscribe right now, drop a like on this video, and comment below with the one habit you are declaring unbreakable today. Write it boldly and specifically. I am someone who, your habit, at exact time, every single day. This isn't optional fluff. It's your first irreversible public step using the very system we're about to explore. Do it before we go any further. Let's dive in. Let me tell you about Marcus, a 34-year-old software engineer living in Austin, Texas. 6-figure salary, sleek, modern apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. Weekends spent at trendy coffee shops and rooftop bars. On paper, he looked like he had life figured out, but inside, he was quietly falling apart from repeated self-betrayal. He couldn't stick to anything longer than about 2 weeks. Gym memberships would start with fire. New workout clothes, new playlist, new gym bag. then end in guilt and auto-renewal charges he never used. Meditation apps were downloaded with great ceremony, streaks built for 10 days, then quietly deleted after the first missed session. Books on productivity, philosophy, or personal growth were purchased in excited bursts. He'd read 3 or 4 chapters with highlighter in hand, then they'd sit on the shelf gathering dust like monuments to good intentions. The pattern was heartbreakingly predictable. Monday morning brought electric motivation. Fresh journal entry, motivational podcast queued, alarm set early. By Wednesday, the first tiny negotiation appeared. I'll do it later after I finish this one task. Friday became full surrender, scrolling Instagram instead, telling himself he'd reset on Monday. Sunday night turned into the ritual self-promise. Next week, I'll be different. This time, I mean it. Marcus tried every popular fix the internet could offer. Habit tracking apps with colorful streaks, badges, and reminders. Reward systems. He'd promise himself a favorite coffee if he hit 5 consecutive days. Accountability partners who texted daily check-ins. He even experimented with the nuclear option, paying friends $100 every time he missed a day. Nothing held. The streaks always broke. The money was lost. The promises rang hollow. Why did nothing work? Because Marcus wasn't really fighting laziness, lack of time, or weak motivation. He was fighting something far deeper, the hardwired architecture of his own brain. That ancient part of the mind that automatically classifies every commitment into one of 2 buckets, reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments invite endless mental negotiation. Irreversible ones simply happen. Then, late one sleepless night while doom scrolling through articles on monastic discipline, he stumbled onto Dogen's teachings. Specifically, the fascicle titled Gyoji in the Shobogenzo. He read about Iheiji Temple, the monastery Dōgen founded in 1244 in the remote mountains of Echizen province. There, the wake-up bell rings at 3:30 a.m. during the summer months and 4 a.m. in winter, every single day, without fail. For nearly 8 centuries, no monk ever lies in bed thinking, "Today I'll skip Zazen." The question literally does not arise in their consciousness. It's not suppressed through heroic effort. It simply doesn't exist. Marcus felt something click. True consistency isn't about developing superhuman willpower that lasts forever. It's about systematically eliminating every condition in which willpower even needs to be summoned. It's about making the desired behavior as automatic and non-negotiable as breathing. That moment of insight was his awakening. But awakening by itself changes nothing. The real frightening work, the daily dismantling and rebuilding, begins right here. In Zen monasteries like Iheiji, practice is not something you do, it is who you are. When a new monk ordains, he does not make a polite promise to try meditation or do his best with the precepts. In front of the entire Sangha, the community of practitioners, he kneels, bows deeply, and formally declares, "I am now a monk who practices Zazen." The community bears witness. In that ceremonial moment, his previous identity as a layperson effectively dies. A new identity is born and publicly affirmed. From that instant forward, the negotiation is over. Dōgen taught that this ceaseless practice, Gyoji, manifests as the perfect circle of the way. It flows unbroken from the first spark of aspiration, through rigorous daily practice, into glimpses of enlightenment, and onward toward complete realization. There are no gaps, no exceptions, no off days justified by fatigue or circumstance. Strikingly, modern neuroscience and behavioral psychology are catching up to this ancient insight. When you make a commitment public and observable to others, your brain's primitive survival circuits light up. Failure is interpreted as a direct threat to social status, because in our ancestral environment, losing face or reliability in the tribe could lead to exile, loss of protection, or even death. Your nervous system still operates with that same ancient software. Multiple lines of research confirm this effect. Studies on public commitment consistently show dramatically higher follow-through rates compared to private resolutions. Work affiliated with Harvard and other institutions on habit persistence has demonstrated that observable behaviors create stronger neural reinforcement loops against quitting. Your brain literally treats breaking the public promise as more painful than enduring the discomfort of continuing. Marcus decided to weaponize this principle without hesitation. He sat down at his kitchen table one Sunday evening and wrote a single, unambiguous declaration on a plain sheet of paper. I am a man who trains body and mind at exactly 5 a.m. every single day, no exceptions, for the next 90 days. This is who I am now. He signed it in black ink. Then he photographed it and posted the image to his LinkedIn profile, his Instagram story, tagged with close friends, and even tweeted it with the caption, Day 0, no turning back. He didn't stop there. He read the declaration out loud, word for word, over a video call to his girlfriend, his older brother, and 3 trusted colleagues from work. The reactions were exactly what he needed, a mix of amusement, bro, you're being way too dramatic, mild teasing, 90 days, good luck with that, and genuine concern, don't burn yourself out, okay? Perfect. Every single person who heard or saw it became a living witness. From that moment on, every morning at 5 a.m., when the alarm sounded, the first thought wasn't, do I feel like doing this? It was, what will I have to say when they ask why I quit after only 3 days? The anticipated social pain of admitting failure publicly became far greater than the physical discomfort of getting out of bed in the dark. For the first time in his adult life, the internal negotiation died before it could even gather momentum. Day 3 arrived. Alarm at 5 a.m. His brain launched its usual script. You're exhausted. One skipped day won't ruin anything. You can double up tomorrow. But then the mental image hit hard. Having to post an update admitting defeat, facing the knowing glances at work, explaining to his girlfriend why the new Marcus lasted less than a long weekend. That imagined shame was unbearable. He swung his legs over the side of the bed. Feet hit the cold floor. The war was won before it fully started. Even with the public stakes locked in, though, the deeper war continued every single morning. His body didn't care about social reputation or identity shifts. It craved sleep. It wanted warmth. It begged for more rest. This is where Dōgen's second core pillar came into play: fixed, non-negotiable hours. Most people unknowingly sabotage themselves every day by asking the same draining question. When will I do this today? Should it be first thing in the morning? During lunch break? After work when I'm less tired? Each possible slot opens a fresh round of internal debate. Each debate consumes precious prefrontal glucose, the exact mental fuel needed to actually execute the behavior. Marcus decided to eliminate the question entirely. He chose 5 a.m. Not because he naturally loved early mornings or enjoyed watching the sunrise. He chose it because at 5 a.m., the world is still asleep. No Slack notifications, no urgent emails, no family demands, no tempting, I'll do it later, loopholes. The time wasn't chosen for peak productivity science. It was chosen for ruthless elimination of variables. The first week felt like torture. His body fought the new circadian rhythm with cortisol spikes, heavy eyelids, and waves of grogginess that made every movement feel like wading through mud. That resistance is completely normal. You're asking a biological machine that has run on one schedule for decades to adopt a radically different one overnight. It rebels. By the second week, though, something subtle but profound began to shift. He started waking naturally at 4:58 a.m., a minute or two before the alarm. His body had begun anticipating what was coming. The resistance was still there, but it was quieter. On day 14, the transformation deepened. The alarm sounded. Before his conscious mind could even register the sound, his feet were already touching the floor. No internal debate, no weighing pros and cons. just automatic movement. The action had started to slip out of the realm of conscious decision and into the domain of reflex. Philippa Lally's landmark 2010 study at University College London provides the scientific backbone here. She tracked real people forming habits in everyday life and found that, on average, it takes about 66 days for a behavior to reach full automaticity. The range was wide. Some habits locked in after 18 days, others took up to 254. But the single most important factor was consistency of context. Same time, same place, same preceding cues. When those stay fixed, the brain stops needing to decide and simply executes. By locking the hour, Marcus had removed when as a negotiation point forever. The brain could no longer argue with a constant, but he soon discovered the mind is clever. It simply shifted the battlefield. His schedule was now ironclad at 5 a.m., but the exact actions inside that window kept changing. One morning he felt like meditating. The next he read instead. Another day he did push-ups, then skipped reading. The brain had found a new loophole. Instead of debating the time, it debated the content. Maybe today isn't a push-up day. Maybe I'll just read longer. Dōgen's teaching on forms addresses this directly and mercilessly. You must perform exactly the same sequence, in exactly the same order, with exactly the same attention every single day until the mind completely surrenders.
Variety
its
is
need
the
to
silent
negotiate.
killer of consistency. Every time you introduce variation, different exercises, different durations, different order, you force the brain to make micro-decisions all over again. Those micro-decisions are tiny cracks where the old, lazy patterns seep back in. Marcus locked everything down with almost brutal precision. Exactly 20 perfect form push-ups, no more, no less. Exactly 10 minutes of shikantaza, just sitting, no counting breaths, no guided app, no striving for special states. Exactly 10 minutes of deliberate reading, either philosophy or hard science, continuing the same book until it was finished. Same order every morning. Same yoga mat unrolled in the same corner of the living room. Same soft lamp turned on. Same timer set to 20 minutes total for the movement and sitting portion. This became his personal Ango, a traditional 90-day intensive retreat period, but lived in the middle of modern life. His friends noticed quickly, "Dude, you're turning into a robot." His girlfriend laughed at first, then grew quieter. "This is getting kind of weird. Are you okay?" They didn't understand. The robotic repetition wasn't the problem, it was the solution. It was the deliberate stripping away of choice until freedom from decision itself emerged. Decades of research by MIT neuroscientist Anne Graybiel and her team on the basal ganglia explain exactly why this works. When you repeat an action in a highly stable context over and over, neural control gradually transfers from the effortful, decision-making prefrontal cortex to the deeper, automatic habit circuits in the basal ganglia. The behavior chunks into a single, fluid sequence, like a dancer executing a long choreography without thinking about each individual step. The conscious mind steps back. The body and deeper brain simply do what has been rehearsed into them. For Marcus, week 3 was brutal. His mind screamed for novelty. "This is so boring. You're not a machine. Mix it up or you'll burn out." The craving for variation felt almost physical. Week 4, the inner voice grew quieter, less convincing. Resistance still appeared, but it lacked its old energy. By week 6, he caught himself halfway through his push-ups one morning before he was even fully awake. His body had started the sequence on autopilot. The practice was no longer something he was forcing. It was something that was happening through him. Automaticity is not about developing infinite willpower. It's about repeating the behavior in the same context until willpower is no longer required at all. This brings us to the point where the vast majority of people collapse, the myth of all or nothing. If I can't do the full 20 minutes perfectly today, why bother at all?
If my form isn't great or I'm too tired for the whole sequence, I'll just wait until tomorrow when conditions are better. That thinking creates gaps, and gaps are lethal. Every time you skip, even for what feels like a legitimate reason, your old, inconsistent self gets a foothold again. The chain breaks, momentum dies. Dōgen was uncompromising on this point. Practice must continue without a single moment's gap. He used the metaphor of a river. During a drought, it may be reduced to a mere trickle, but as long as it keeps moving forward, it remains a river. The instant it stops flowing completely, it is no longer a river. It becomes only the memory of where water once was. Your practice is the same. The moment you create a deliberate gap, you are no longer someone who practices. You become someone who used to practice. Day 35. Marcus came down with a nasty flu, body aching, fever spiking. Old Marcus would have declared a rest day and promised to restart stronger. New Marcus crawled out of bed at 5 a.m., did 5 slow push-ups on the bedroom floor, form sloppy but completed, sat for 3 minutes breathing through congestion, and read 1 single page with bleary eyes. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't full effort, but it maintained continuity. The chain stayed alive. Day 40. Business travel. Back-to-back meetings. No hotel gym. No quiet space. He slipped into an airport family bathroom stall and did 10 push-ups against the sink while travelers outside waited. On the 40-minute Uber ride to the client site, he closed his eyes and did 5 minutes of silent shikantaza. On the flight home, he read 1 page of his book despite turbulence. Nothing was ideal. Everything kept the practice moving forward. That is the essence of Gyoji, practice that perpetuates itself. Not flawless execution every time, relentless continuity. The final piece most people overlook is what happens when life inevitably throws curveballs you can't predict or control. A sick child, a car breakdown on the way to your training space, a boss who keeps you until 9 p.m., a sudden family emergency. These moments destroy most consistency chains, not because the obstacles are insurmountable, but because they force you to make high-stakes decisions under stress. And under stress, the human brain defaults to the path of least resistance every single time. Zen monasteries have endured earthquakes, wars, famines, floods, and political upheaval for centuries without ever missing a single day of practice. How? They never wait until the obstacle appears to decide how to respond. The response is pre-decided. When the meditation hall floods, they move to the dining hall. When the dining hall catches fire, they sit in the courtyard. There is no emergency meeting, no debate. The bell rings. The community responds automatically according to forms that have already been established. Marcus sat down one evening and listed every single obstacle that had ever broken his consistency in the past. Then he created a clear if-then plan for each one. If I'm sick, then minimum viable practice. 5 push-ups, 3-minute sit, 1-page read. If traveling, Aero portable version. Airport bathroom push-ups. Seated meditation in Uber/plane. Reading on device. If work keeps me late, implies silent home sequence at 5 a.m. sharp the next morning. No negotiation. If guests are staying over, implies bathroom workout with minimal noise, earbuds for guided silence if needed. These if-then rules are what psychologist Peter Gollwitzer calls implementation intentions. Meta-analyses covering more than 90 independent studies show that forming these specific plans increases the likelihood of goal achievement by 200 to 300%. Why? Because they bypass decision fatigue entirely. The critical choice is made ahead of time in a calm moment. When the stressful situation arrives, there is no debate, only execution.
Your prefrontal cortex stays fresh for actually doing the work instead of wasting energy deciding whether to do it. On day 90, Marcus completed his personal Ango. 90 consecutive days, no missed mornings, no full skips. Even on the worst days, continuity was preserved. But something far more profound had taken place. He was no longer a man who was trying to be disciplined. He simply was disciplined. The actions had fused with his identity so completely that the old question, "Should I do this today?" no longer appeared in his mind. His coworkers started commenting, "You seem different lately, more intense, almost intimidating." Close friends said things like, "Your discipline is starting to scare me a little. It's not normal." When people use words like unhealthy, obsessive, or extreme to describe your consistency, you know you've crossed an important threshold. Normal behavior produces normal results. If you want extraordinary outcomes, you have to be willing to become someone others find slightly unsettling. The full Gyoji system reshapes you at the identity level through 5 interlocking elements. Irreversible public declaration that rewires social and neural consequences. A single, non-negotiable fixed hour that eliminates choice fatigue around timing. A locked, unchanging sequence of actions that starves the mind of negotiation points. Ruthless commitment to 0 gaps, accepting minimum viable practice over perfection. Pre-written if-then solutions for every foreseeable and some unforeseeable obstacle. Together, these don't just build better habits. They kill the inconsistent self you once were and give birth to an unbreakable version who no longer needs to try. People will look at you and ask, "How do you do that every day?" The answer will be simple and honest. I don't do it. I am it. So here is the only question that remains. Are you ready to let your old, negotiating, excuse-making self die so this new version can live?